everyone, and welcome to Money Talks with Attorney Coral. I am Attorney Coral Plus, the host of the show, which is sponsored each and every week by Columbia Savings and Loan Association. Thank you so much, Columbia, for sponsoring this show every week. Every week, they allow me to come live on WNOV Radio, 860 AM, 106.5 FM, to bring information to the community. Even though I'm an attorney, I don't give legal advice over the air. But what we do is we try to talk about things that are informational and educational for the community. So, in so doing, boy, do I have the right person in the studio with me today. Today, I have the wonderful Dr. Mose Fuller. Dr. Fuller is a local pastor, and he'll talk about that a little bit because I am going to ask him to introduce himself a little bit here to you in a moment. But for our purposes, Dr. Fuller has been a director on the board of directors for Columbia Savings and Loan Association for going over about 6 years now,
Yeah.
right, Doc?
Yep.
Yeah, and so he's a boss at Columbia, and
That's
helps.
what they say.
Yeah, well, because they know it's the truth,
It's the truth.
and that way that the board oversees the operations of the bank
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything that the rest of us do, with Ernest Jones being the chairman of the board, the
Mhm.
president of the bank, and the CEO of the bank. So those two came on around the same time and have been making history ever since. So welcome, Dr. Fuller.
Thank you very much. Yeah, President Jones and we actually met in the parking lot of the bank, and I'm the type of guy I like to have a little fun. So I was working on him and talking about how young he was and all that stuff. I'm old school, and so and actually, when you look at the progression of President Jones, Attorney Jones, we just came on to be board members. And and his history is that he worked with federal regulators, state, and all that stuff for a lot of years, and he's an attorney, and so he just knew, so he know about banking.
He knows a
He
lot.
knows a lot about banking,
Absolutely.
and so where he is now is something that, and I always talk to him about this. I said, you are where you are now, Mr. President, because God wants you to be there.
I agree with that.
I mean, that's just, I've been pastoring this community over 30 years. Pastors, people are pastors' business. As a pastor, my job is to understand God's people and do something to kind of like help them live better or make good decisions. Really, that's what it's all about. What kind of decisions you're making. Financial decisions, especially since we're talking here, and financial decisions are huge.
Absolutely.
I mean, huge. And having a good bank to make those decisions. So we met about 2019, right at the end of 18, 19. COVID hadn't started yet, but it was all getting ready to start. It was out there already. And so we've been working together since then. And where he is now, I tell you, Attorney Cora, he had no inkling that he'll be in that position. I said, but man, don't worry about it. You're where God wants you to be. And I tell you right now, for this bank, you're the best man for the job.
Absolutely.
Best person for the job.
Right. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. Let me just say.
And see, that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't ask, when you're not out here trying to get a position, a lot of folks fighting for a position or doing anything to get a position, especially a position like that. The only black banking, and you want to, he didn't want the job.
Right.
Man, and I always told him, I said, man, that reminds me of Moses in the Bible.
Oh, okay.
God told Moses, look, man, you're gonna lead the people into Israel, man. You're gonna lead them. And Moses said, I'm not qualified. You got the wrong person, God. Get somebody else.
Right.
Moses made up every excuse. I can't talk.
Right.
I don't know how to talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God said, who gave you the voice? I can have your brother to talk for you. Just lead. And so Attorney Jones he's a leader of the bank. and he's a great leader too. And
Oh,
one of the things
absolutely.
that he has on his sign that really works in his favor is that, and this is nothing against people that's old like myself, is that he had youth on his
Right. Well, it's funny that you bring that up, and well, I was gonna say, even with Moses, Ernie knew he was qualified.
Yeah,
Right from the get go, he knew he was qualified. I mean, his resume is above reproach, and
right.
he's more than qualified for the role. But it just wasn't why he came. He wanted
It's
to
not.
help and work, but he wanted to do it behind the scenes as a director on the board, rather than being at the helm of the ship and actually running with the title as president. So that wasn't something that he was seeking, but the circumstances were what they were, and
Yeah,
ultimately that came upon him. So it's funny that now, you're saying, well, yeah, he's got youth going for him. But I think at first some people thought, this young
didn't know
guy,
anything.
what could he know? He's too young. But they didn't realize, everybody doesn't take to age 50 to go out and do something great.
Exactly.
He started out right in his 20s, graduating early from college, going on to law school, graduating, with just distinction, and then getting in the trenches and mastering the craft, and becoming an expert in all things related to banking from a regulatory standpoint as well. So that is what makes him so well qualified for this position that ultimately was bestowed upon him, despite the fact that he was not vying for it.
And as a board member, been on the board since uh, um, 2019, and really looking at the work of the bank from a really kind of inside perspective. I can say this without a shadow of a doubt that the leadership of this bank, with Attorney Jones at the helm, you and and being a lawyer, they say the thing that they always say is that lawyers work hard. I mean, well, some of them I know. The
Yeah,
one that I know you guys do it.
I sure
I've seen
do.
how
And so
you
does
work at
Ernie.
that, and Ernie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a man, and that is key. The person that Ernie really wanted. You know, uh, Only thing I can say as a pastor is that maybe God didn't want it that way.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
I mean, and that's the way I look at things. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
pastor, so I look at it through the lens, the prism of the pastor, and through the what how the Word of God says about leadership, how leadership is chosen. The Bible says God elevates and God brings down.
Right.
Psalm 75, right there. This person might think that he's the reason why somebody's being promoted or somebody's not being promoted, but God is the one that elevates and brings down another person.
Right.
And so in Ernest's case, I know that's the case. I
Yeah.
said, Ernest, man, you couldn't have wrote the script. You could have not written the script. You just could not have done it. And then all the antagonism, I don't want it. I don't, and the guy, he's in the position, and I said, now you're the leader, man. You got to be out front. He don't like to be out.
Right.
And Moses was the same way. Great leaders are not really seeking an audience. Great leaders are not the one that really push to be out front, making all the speeches all the time.
Right.
Really great leaders are content to work in the background.
Right. Right.
Get things done that way. That's where Ernie is.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but man, you got to make a speech sometime. You got to get out there and say something sometime because you're the leader, man. You can't.
Right. Right. Right.
It's amazing, But with the leadership that have this bank now, the great work you guys are doing in your team. I listened to one of the programs you was talking about a few weeks ago. And you're talking about the great team that you have. It's an awesome team.
Yes, it is.
That's why I know that. I've seen you come into the bank, so Attorney Core, and the hard work that you put into that bank is just amazing. As a board member, I sit back and I look at all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And you said board members are the leaders of the bank. And when I came on the board, and they had those regulators, they come around to banks and they talk about who's in charge. And I know one time they was there, and all the board members was there, and they said something that being a new board member, and I really didn't understand all of this stuff. And when they said the ones that are really is going to be responsible for this bank, if anything go wrong, it's gonna be the board member, the directors.
Right.
You know what? That opened my eyes real quick.
Oh, I bet it did.
As now I'm here sitting there. If anything go wrong with this bank, it
Right.
get in any kind of trouble and things
Mhm.
like that. And we're supposed to be the one, the directors
Mhm.
of any bank in this community.
Mhm.
It's the directors. If
Mhm.
anything go wrong, it's on your shoulder. It's
Well,
on our shoulders.
that's why we're so fortunate to have not one but two former regulators that are
Exactly.
sitting on the board. Steve
Exactly. That's
Moore,
huge.
being the other. In addition to Ernie with his background, his regulatory background, but that's what helps steer and guide the ship to make sure that we are continuing to move things in the right direction.
And
So
you're
I'm
going in the
grateful
right
about where we
direction.
are.
Oh, you're going in the right there. I mean, that's what people in this community should realize is that it's amazing in just a short period of time since President Jones has been the president of Columbia Savings and Loan, how the ship has really turned,
Right.
how it has really turned. And it goes back to having the inside knowledge, being a former regulator and knowing what is really required of any bank in this community,
Right.
not just Columbia, but any bank. I don't care how big that bank is.
Right.
You know, there's a certain knowledge you got to have in terms of what is required of that bank, how
Right.
they should operate, compliance, and all of those things.
Right.
I mean, those Attorney Jones and people that have been regulators, they know that,
Right.
and they know why, and the reason banks are closed.
Right.
And one of the things that he always said, man, it ain't gonna happen on my watch.
Right. Right. Exactly. So we're lucky to have him, and we're lucky to have you and the rest of the board. And I'm fortunate to have the team that we have with Latoya Sykes, who was on the show
Oh
with
yeah,
me in
doing a
recent
great
weeks
job.
and doing a fantastic job. As our new branch manager, and she knows how to put the hammer down when it needs to happen.
Yeah.
But she's so pleasant and she's so bright. But don't get the wrong ideas. She knows how to keep order. And so that's so important. And then the rest of the team,
Yeah.
with the bank, we've got Golbaz Gill, who has been on the show a number of times, but he's the executive director of lending
Mm-hmm.
and finance with the bank, and brings with himself 20 plus years of
Wow.
banking experience, that he's been a lender for many, many years. And so he knows his way around a loan file for sure, and what needs to happen in order to be of service to the community. And then we're fortunate. We've got Chris Conrad, who's also a junior lender, who works for the bank now. And Chris has gotten really good at helping with loan administration and just dotting our I's and crossing our T's, with everything that we're working on. And of course, our tellers. We have Jamila Jones and Yumika Miller working hard for us, plus the college students that we bring them in on an as needed basis
Mm-hmm.
for filling in with different roles that need to take place at the bank. So we just have such an outstanding team, and I'm proud of all of us to have worked as hard as we have, especially in this past year, to have really moved things to a good position to where we're just in crank mode. And it's just fabulous to watch, and just wonderful to be a part of. So I'm proud. I'm proud of what we're doing.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job. You're doing a really great job. And that the community. That's why the bank is so important in the community. And I think since I've been affiliated with Columbia Savings and Loan since the '90s, one of the things that Columbia Savings and Loan did not have that it has now is the exposure.
Okay.
Community exposure. Like people really don't know. They don't really know. They didn't know that the bank was out there.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So exposure, for instance, such as this show
Yeah.
every week.
I mean,
Okay.
this has done a tremendous thing. A lot of people that maybe call in or listening, they didn't know that Columbia was down. But now they know.
Mhm.
I didn't know, and I'd been around this town for a long time, and I thought that I knew a lot of stuff that was going on. But you have one of the gems in the community around the corner, 20th
Right.
and Fond du Lac, and people just don't know.
Yeah.
That's the way it is in the city, though.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you have been affiliated with the bank since the 90s. How so?
You know, and I would our church I organized our church in '93, and we bought our building in '95. And Columbia Savings and Loan financed the building. The president of the bank at that time, Gary, George
Yeah,
Gary,
Mr. Gary.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he was the president, and he took a chance on us who had been out there just for 2 years.
Mm,
And we had the money now. We didn't go in there broke,
right.
but
Right.
still,
Right.
some institutions you can have the money, you can have the credit, the money, and you go
Right.
in there and they still won't do business with you.
Right.
And
Right.
that was the case. That's why this bank was started in the first place.
Well, exactly.
And he took a chance with us, and we paid it off, and didn't miss a payment, none of that stuff. And so that's how I became acquainted with Columbia Savings and Loan, which was one of the best moves, financially that I really could have made.
Hmm.
Having a black bank and having which is so significant to a kind of like a depressed and compressed market like in Milwaukee. Like a lot of black people in Milwaukee just didn't have access to banking capital.
Right.
That just was a fact. And that's how this bank started. So that's how I became affiliated with Columbia. They financed our church building,
Hmm.
and then eventually, when I refinanced my home, they did that also. So
Okay.
all of the big stuff that I have,
Right.
is with
Right.
Columbia Savings and Loan.
So that's good. I mean, I know you mentioned that. Yes, I mean, the church, you had the money, but it was still a relatively new
Right.
organization.
2 years
So
old.
Mr. Gary took a chance,
Took a chance.
on you, and it paid off in spades. I can see that,
Yeah. Yeah.
from all the years that have gone by, and you have continued to do business with Columbia. So I want to thank you from that standpoint as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
because long-term customers, Columbia has a lot of them. So I, would just say a thank you to all of the customers of Columbia Savings and Loan Association. Without you, we could not stand. We could not operate.
Exactly.
We could not do what we do but for the customers that come there and trust us, with their deposits, because we are a savings and loan, right? Or they come and have mortgages with the bank, and that sustains our operation, being able to work with those customers. And so a lot of long-term people, I've been fortunate to meet customers since I've been working inside the bank on a regular basis, people that have been doing business with this bank since long before I was born, even. People will come in, oh, I opened my account in 1960, or 1965,
Hmm.
or whatever the case may be. And I'm thinking, wow. And these people have stood firm and continued to be a part of the bank over the years. And I really want to say a special thank you for those long-term people that have been a part of this operation for decades, that they really make up what is special and spectacular about Columbia Savings and Loan Association. So, new people, we love you too. Don't get me wrong, but it just has amazed me, being present in the location, and people come in and, oh yeah, I opened my account, and 50 some years ago,
Mm.
in some of the instances. So it's something to be proud of. But so it looks like we do need to get ready to take a break. But Dr. Fuller, when we come back, I will talk about some of black banking. Why is it important to have a black bank in the community like Columbia Savings and Loan Association? Audience, feel free to call us at 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. If you want to add to the conversation anything about your experiences with Columbia Savings and Loan Association, and we will be right back with you with more of this conversation after the break. Welcome back. This is Money Talks with Attorney Coral, and I am Attorney Coral Plus, and I am very fortunate to have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Mose Fuller. Dr. Fuller, say hi to the people.
How's everyone doing out there? It's been great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So thanks for being with us today. We've been talking
Mhm.
a lot about Columbia Savings and Loan in particular, but even in more general terms, one of the things I wanted to talk about today is just the importance of having a black bank in the community.
Mhm.
Dr. Fuller, first, just in your own words, we got some bullet points or talking points that we would like to go through, but just tell us, why is it important to have a black bank in the community?
You know, the reason as a pastor, and really understand in a lot of our churches, the members don't understand finance, don't understand how money works and those types of things. Just having a black bank in the community is important. Having a bank in the community is important to any community because basically, when people are when people are putting their money in institutions, banks, they want to be able to relate to the institution that they're depositing their money in. They really want to be able to go to that institution and talk to the people that's in charge of the institution and where their money is. And so when you have a black bank, you think that people in that bank kind of like look like you. A lot of them. That's important. I mean,
Mhm.
that's not being racial. That's just common sense. I mean, you want to have people in the institution that you can relate to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You really do. So at least some of them anyway. And so to me, that's very important. I said it before when I was on this program. I was taking some class in that Holy Redeemer Church, and Bishop Daniel's sister was teaching one of the class, and both of them went on to be with the Lord now. Hattie Daniels, she went on to be with the Lord too. And one of the things that Hattie said is that it's important for anyone that's doing banking in the community. It said community banking is important, and to have a relationship with the banker, with that bank, that is huge because people need access to capital in order to function. So I would say the most important thing is really having relationship with the bank in your community. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can do business with that bank. You can go in there and talk to people like you know them.
Mm-hmm.
When the people that are have a charge over your money, your resources, financial resources. So I would say just having a good relationship with the bank and knowing that that bank is in that community to serve you.
Right.
And that's why it's so important for this community to understand the vision and the impact of Columbia Savings and Loan on the city of Milwaukee and the black community in the city of Milwaukee.
It's a jewel in the
It
community.
really is.
And I would say this often, but sometimes I'm still surprised that, I mean, people, if they don't hear your message, they don't know. You got to repeat things.
Yeah.
I study leadership, and one of the things they say about leaders, by the time a leader has repeated something maybe 15, 20 times,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes then people are just beginning to hear.
Yeah.
So Columbia is over 100 years old now, will be 101 this fall, and it is the only black owned bank left in the state of Wisconsin. So sometimes people say, oh, the only in the city of Milwaukee. No, the
No,
whole
whole
state of
state.
Wisconsin, right? This is it. This is it. So that is a huge accomplishment, to
Huge,
have been
huge.
around as long as this bank has been around.
See, and you're talking about what does it mean? That's that just trying to wrap your mind around that and visualize that is astronomical. It's not a little thing, man. It's a big deal. You see, and people that's going to be financially sound need to have those relationships. And there's a large black community in the city of Milwaukee, huge. And the vast majority of the black community in Milwaukee is not banking savvy.
Right.
That's a fact. That's just a
Right.
fact.
Right.
That's just a fact. And it's important. But if we would pool our resources, patronize, come to an institution like Columbia Savings and Loan, get to know the psychology of that institution, the
Right.
historical background of that institution, how it got started, why it got started, what was taking place in the city of Milwaukee, to even want to start a black bank. What was the economic depression that was taking place? Why did they have to start a black bank? Why couldn't you just go to a mainstream bank and get your resource? Because they wouldn't let you have it. They wouldn't lend money to you.
Right.
You couldn't go there and you buy a house.
Right.
I think that's the reason why a lot of black folks in this community rent, because they can't get access to capital. And then you got to have, everybody should have, you should work on having a great credit score. And a lot of our people don't understand the significance of what role the credit score plays. Huge. But then you need an institution that's going to work with you, that's going to educate you.
Right.
That even if you run into, and then we understand that people can run into certain hardships and things just happen in life.
Right.
That don't mean they should be written off.
Exactly.
And so that's what an institution like Columbia Savings and Loan does. Help people get to an economic point where they can function on a productive level and not writing anybody off.
Right. 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 Because as you said, life does happen.
It happens, man.
And, everybody's human. And, sometimes it can be, you just don't know what the
just don't know what's going to happen, man.
It could be a car accident that takes you off your job for a number of months. If you're physically injured, you might fall behind, can't pay your bills on time, your credit score will drop, or, just different things happen in life. People have to get up, dust themselves off, and, start over, keep trying. But we don't write people off.
Yeah.
We give people a chance because we understand that life is real and real life happens.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Fuller, talk about some of the pros of black banking. You had some talking points that you brought up that, I would love for you to just kind of talk through them a little bit, one at a time, if you would.
Yeah. I think, one of the pros of, thinking about the idea of the psychology of banking, the pros of black banking, economic empowerment, and I think that is huge. Black-owned banks can invest deposits into black communities.
Right.
That's important. That's why it's all the other banks do in other communities. Just help the community. People that come now, they want money. They let them have the money to invest in the community. In the case before Columbia was started, people just wanted to be able to buy a house.
Right. Right.
And they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get the money. Not that they didn't have the means to pay the loan.
Right. Exactly.
But because they just didn't, the other banks wouldn't lend them the money.
Right. Right. And it was, discrimination is still live and well.
Right, exactly.
But it was bold 100 years ago in your face.
Right.
Where, it was understood. We don't care if you run a successful business and you've got substantial earnings. You're black. We're not going to lend to you.
You're not going to lend the money. And
so it was just that way. But yeah.
And then to continue that other point, it said black-owned banks can invest deposits into black communities.
Right.
Help the community grow. Look, this is here. Helping close the helping close the racial wealth gap through loans and business support.
Right.
People need loans. If you got a business,
right.
Business needs to know that they can go to a place that's gonna look at them in an honest way, and just honestly say, you qualify to get this loan. We're not gonna have you going through a lot of hoops. You know what I mean? But you're qualified to get the loan.
Right.
Your personal credit is good. Your credit is good, and your business credit is good, and you can pay the loan back.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it looks like we do have a caller that's called in, Dr. Fuller. Caller, thank you so much for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi. My name is Angela. How y'all doing this afternoon?
We're doing great, Angela. Thank you for calling.
Yes, ma'am. So my question is, I'm not sure what y'all topic was speaking on besides banks, but I used to bank at U.S. Bank, right? So I had a credit card and they gave me a reserve line. So they closed my account because well, they never really gave me a reason, but they felt like I would never pay that credit card off or that reserve line. I had that account since I believe it was since '06 up until this year. So they shut my account down without any reason why. So now they're calling me. Now get this. The reserve line, I was going to start paying on it because I always did. So now they called me after they closed my account and asked them, well, when you think you're going to pay that money back for that reserve line? So this what I told that man, with all due respect. I said, I had intentions on paying it. I said, but since the big wig decided to close my account, y'all figure it out and get the money from him because I'm not going to pay it. Because y'all didn't give me a reason why. It wasn't like I never paid the money back. But I remember calling in before, and one young lady said that they probably wasn't making no interest off me because I always paid it off and was on time or before time, the credit card and the reserve line. So now they're expecting me to pay that reserve line, which I'm not going to do. And I
Yeah.
flat out told him that. Y'all should have never closed my account and not given me a reason why. I can see if I never paid it, but I always did before time and paid the full amount.
Okay.
No,
Yeah. So Angie, thanks for your call today, and we appreciate the frustration of the situation that you're describing. We're not in a position to offer any legal advice
no,
to
I'm,
you for the
excuse me.
circumstance, or even financial or banking advice. But I certainly wish you luck with that situation in the future.
Yes, ma'am. I really wasn't, I understand y'all position not being able to give me no advice, but I don't understand why. But, you know, I just don't feel like I should pay it. And they were wrong, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
I can see if I hadn't paid on no money to them. Since 2006. Come on now.
Right. And so I'm sorry that was the experience that you had, and I do wish you the best moving forward.
Yes, ma'am. I'm okay. I got a different account with a different bank, so it's all good. They just ain't never getting their money.
Okay. All
All right,
right. Well,
y'all have a
Angie, good
blessed
luck.
one.
Good luck to you in the future. Thank you for calling in. Okay, looks like we do have another caller. Um, Caller, thank you so much for holding. Please go ahead.
How you doing? Real question. Um, for individuals in their 50s with $100,000, um, what would make Columbia attractive to them? And do you guys offer any investment and strategy guidance?
What I would say in response to that, it's not a question that we can get into specifics about over the
Right.
air. That's something that I would ask that you, if you would like further information, to call the bank directly. We don't have investment advisors there, but certainly we could describe what products that we do have that might be of interest to you, and then we would hope that you would consider depositing in some form or other with us, but we would share with you what products we have to offer and what rates might be available for the investment that you might be making.
Well, can you speak to some of the products without getting into like detail, like in this during the show, like hey, we offer this or we offer that, just to get a picture of what you may have to offer to an individual that may want to patron the bank.
So what I would say, unless you wanted to speak, Dr. Fuller, what I would say to that, and I do appreciate the question, but I think we would need to bring the proper person
Right.
on the show, the proper person from the bank that could really speak to the various products that the bank might have to offer. I am the bank's attorney, so I represent the bank from a different standpoint. Dr. Fuller is on the board of directors, but we do have a team of people, staff people that would probably be better to answer that question. What I could do is give the bank's phone number so that if you did want to call and speak to someone or give your information to schedule an appointment, and then we would love to have you in and to talk a little bit further under that circumstance. But we're really not allowed to give any specifics in terms of advice, whether it's financial or legal or otherwise, over the air. But I do appreciate your call.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the number for Columbia Savings and Loan Association is 414-374-0486. That is 414-374-0486. We are located at 2020 West Fond du Lac Avenue, and I'll give that information out again before the end of the
Right.
show. So thank you, callers. Those are fantastic questions, and we really do appreciate and knowing that people are listening to what we're talking about here today, Dr. Fuller.
That's great.
Yes, yes. So, Dr. Fuller, what are some of the other pros of black banking?
One of the other thing that I think that one of the pros of black banking is cultural understanding.
Okay.
When people, you put your money someplace, you want that banking institution or that financial institution to have an understanding of where you're coming from, your lifestyle, your culture, your beliefs, your functions in your community, as a people. And so cultural understanding is important. The black institution, black banking, these institutions often understand the unique needs of historical challenges faced by black Americans. I mean,
Right.
that's huge in banking. That's just a fact. And because other institutions didn't always accept our money. Now it doesn't make sense to me why you would be in business and you would turn down money. If you're in business to make money, that's why you watch some of those old shows from the South. I'm from Mississippi, so I know that everything was. I was born in '51, and so things was still kind of like segregated, white and black and things like that. They were trying to move in a direction, why they didn't have that. But you go into a store and you go into a counter to buy to get breakfast, and they don't want to serve you. Never makes sense.
Right.
And so you have institutions like that. They don't want to lend money to people to buy a house, that's going to help that don't going to help that person wherever they want to buy that house, help that community, But if you don't lend money to that community, then you can't. It's not going to benefit anyone.
Right. How resourceful we are as a people when we
Right.
weren't able to get loans at other institutions or dine at other, restaurants, that we started our own. Doesn't get any better than that. And we will talk more about the importance and the pros of black banking when we come back from the break. There'll be more money talk with the Club. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Jay Jackson. If you're buying coffee, beer, or baked goods, anytime soon you could be paying more. Starting August 1st, new tariffs are set to take effect on food imported from dozens of countries. And that includes major trading partners like the European Union, Brazil, and China. A new analysis from the tax foundations three-quarters of America's food imports are already taxed. Those rates are going up. While some items from Canada and Mexico are protected under the trade deals, others aren't and will now face higher costs at the border. But unlike manufactured goods, food isn't easy to substitute. You can't grow bananas in most of the U.S., and American farmers can't just scale food to replace global supply. So the result, according to the report, is likely to be higher prices with fewer alternatives. For I'm Jay Jackson. Here's your update. This year is a snow here for today. Skies mostly sunny in the 70s. Winds out of the northeast around 10 to 20 miles per hour. Then for tonight, stormy and snow partly cloudy. It's Michelle Bryant. If you mix black and brown, you miss the difference. That's why Mr. Rogers is once again free music is coming your way on Saturday, August 2nd. Annual summer concert series starts Michelle Bryant. The stage is going to check out spoken word artist right there. You are going to Washington. And it's supposed to be Franklin and Milwaukee's home. Right. So get your lodging. Like meet me at the annual summer concert series. It's sponsored by and collaborates with the Rooftop Empire and Team Water Entertainment. On the second Monday of every month at 7:30, join me for the Scales of Justice attorney. He's a personal injury and civil rights lawyer. This is sponsored by
Welcome back. This is Money Talks with Attorney Coral, and I am delighted to have Dr. Mose Fuller in the studio with me
Mhm.
this morning. Dr. Fuller is a member of the board of directors for Columbia Savings and Loan Association and has been for the past 6 years. Thank you so much again, Dr. Fuller, for being with
Yeah.
us today.
Thank you, so squirrel.
Yeah. So we were talking right before the break about the pros of black banking. And so far you had talked to us about the economic empowerment that it provides, the cultural understanding, which is definitely a plus. You don't get that just anywhere.
Anyway.
And then I think you were going to tell us a little bit about the access to capital as being another plus. Go ahead and talk to us about that a
Really,
little
and I
bit,
think
Doc.
that like we've been talking about earlier in other shows is that the black community in Milwaukee and in a lot of cases across this nation didn't have access to capital to build homes and things like that. So you need access to capital is huge, for
Can't do
mortgages.
anything without money.
You sure can. Mortgages, business loans, lines of credit, and you need an institution that can understand those communities. Understand communities where traditional banking often deny loans. That, once again, listeners, that is why Columbia Savings and Loan is such important institution in this community, because it was kind of like filling the gap, so to speak, where black people in the city of Milwaukee and in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, 60s, even today, a lot of black folks in the city of Milwaukee cannot access capital as readily as other communities, other people in other different communities. So that's the void, that's the gap that Columbia Savings and Loan has filled in the past, is doing right now, and going to be doing in the future.
Absolutely. And it does look like we have another caller that's called in. Caller, thank you so much for holding. Please go ahead.
Oh, hello, Attorney Pleas. This is Chantel Bacchus. Just wanted to give you a call and say thank you so much for the platform today. Thank you as well, Dr. Fuller, for your information. I have an insurance agency, so I do understand the importance of economic empowerment. So I do appreciate you sharing this topic today.
Chantel, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate hearing from you today. You
Yeah.
told me you would. I appreciate the support.
Yes, no problem. Again, we appreciate you coming and collaborating with us. I made a comment also on your live here, just saying that we spoke about coming together and collaborations. So we're excited to have you come join us on Monday at our Mindful Mondays MKE event, just to share your knowledge with us, because we agree with you that it is important to share our resources and collaborate so we can bring the whole community up. So thank you so much for doing that for us as well, Attorney Pless.
That's fantastic, Chantel. And if you have just a moment, tell the audience about your event that's coming up this Monday with a little more detail.
Of course. As I mentioned, the name of our organization is called Mindful Mondays, MKE. What we do is once a month on the first Monday of each month, we like to come together, me and my co-founder, his name is Frederick Robinson. He has a gallery right on 42nd, 4233 West Fond du Lac Avenue. So what we do is we put something together. It's a professional networking event, and we try to focus on different industries. We spoke about real estate. We spoke about politics. And the one that's coming up this Monday is going to be on estate planning. So, of course, we have you coming in to speak to that effect of estate planning. And I'm going to talk about life insurance, how we can fund our estate planning and avoid probate, things of that nature with life insurance as well. So, as I mentioned, it's going to be this Monday, which is August the 4th at 5:30 p.m. at Greenwood Park Gallery at 4233 West Fond du Lac Avenue.
That is absolutely awesome, Chantel, and I'm looking forward to it. And
Thank you.
thank you for inviting me to come and speak. And I will be there with bells on.
Sounds good. We're looking forward to it. And thank you so much for sharing your platform here with us today. We're looking forward to having you on Monday. And thanks for your information, Dr. Fuller. We appreciate you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chantel.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
calling in.
No problem.
Yes. So, Dr. Fuller, you talked about the access to capital. What about job creation? Is that another important pro of Black banking?
Sure, it is. It definitely is. Job creation, supporting black banks help them grow, and you help the black bank grow, which can lead to more job opportunities.
Right.
I mean, even with our bank in the last year or so, we've given people job opportunities. I
Absolutely.
mean, so supporting black banks, supporting black businesses in the
Hmm.
community, help the community, help those businesses grow. But at the same time, it gives opportunities to folks that maybe wouldn't have had that opportunity someplace else.
Right. Right.
So,
And this reminds me of something, that Ernie has talked about publicly before. So I'm confident that he wouldn't mind if I share this. But when he was a regulator working for the state, he was one of the people that was sent to Milwaukee to close North Milwaukee State Bank at the time when it closed, and it was a very difficult experience for him because of the look of fear in the eyes of some of the employees.
mhm,
When the government, when the feds and everyone showed up to unfortunately, bring that bank to an end. And it was the hurt on the people's faces and the fear, and the people who lost their jobs. And so the one thing that did really stay with him from that experience when he was kind of thrust into this leadership role with Columbia was, okay, I want to save jobs. I want to save people's jobs. I want to make sure that this bank survives, because I don't ever want a situation where the look on the faces of those individuals that day,
mhm,
that's something
mhm.
that really cut deep, and especially because his grandmother, Mary Ellen Jones, was one of the original founders of North Milwaukee State Bank. And so it
Wow.
was a gripping moment for him. And he has shared that publicly before, so I don't think he would have a problem with me saying that. But one of the things that he that is so important to him now in terms of working with Columbia, saving jobs
Yeah,
and
yeah,
providing new jobs as the
right,
bank continues
right.
to grow. So, yep, very important job creation.
And yeah, job creation, and he and I talked about that same concept.
Hmm.
And so that's a driving force behind what President Jones is doing with this bank and where he want to go with this bank.
Right,
He want this bank to thrive and grow
right,
for the next 100 years.
right. At least, right? 100 more even after that. But Um, so, what about community reinvestment? Is that another important
Very important.
tenet?
Communities, depressed communities. We look at it, the situation we just had a big food store to close on 35th and North Avenue.
Right. There was that pick and
Man,
save
when you
there.
ride by there, it's just simply devastating.
It is.
See, because it shows the death of a community.
Right.
And the thing about that, man, you have more people living in that area than you do the whole city of Wauwatosa.
Right. So surely people need
Man,
food, right?
yeah.
So you would think a grocery store
Man.
could sustain, especially a big league store like it was like a pick and save store, right?
Right. And then you have a bank. That's what banks can do. And so the reason stores like that close in communities is because the community might not have a fighting spirit. You might not know what to do, and then the people that own those stores, they most likely they don't care about those communities.
Right.
That's why you need a bank that can look at this thing and say, "Look, man, we can make something happen."
Right.
Because that's a gap. That's a desert.
That's
a food desert.
Yeah, because there is no other major grocery store
It
in
isn't.
that vicinity. So what about the people who live very
Exactly.
close by? Have a car, and you walk back. Where do you go now to get your food?
I mean, that's almost criminal. Look at it. You really look at that. I mean, that's almost criminal, man. So that's why, you have community investment. That's what banks do. They invest in the community, make things happen in the community for a positive impact.
Well, Dr. Fuller, that's why I brought you on today because you're passionate about it. And I thank you so much for being with us today. That's all the time that we have for now. If there's so much more to say, we'll bring you back another time. Thanks everyone for listening. This was Money Talk with Attorney Coral and Dr. Mose Fuller. Have a good week.
Thank you very much.